So hey guys, it's Mariana and you are watching Little Wolf Reads.
I think Coolsville sucks.
What you call an icon living? Puerto Rican little mission, it's just did it. 9 long over 5 minutes. Whoa, we up too hot in the place.
And today I'm going to be doing my best books of 2018. Like I said in my last video, I'm going to be doing this thing where I leave the Goodreads list of all the books that I talk about in the description box. The first book I want to talk about was Under Girl Gang by Lily Anderson, and I freaking love this book. I love the witch aspect. It was like a small witch, like it was a small witch aspect, which you would expect that because they're in high school. So the book is about Mila's best friend Riley dies, and everyone thinks it was like a suicide pact because two other girls also died, like I think within that month or like that week. And so everyone thinks it was like this suicide pact thing, but Mila knows her best friend, and she knows her best friend had no reason to commit suicide. She never wants to commit suicide. Like, this just wasn't her. And so she decides she wants to bring her best friend Riley back to figure out what happened, because clearly it's a situation that's going on and she wants to stop it from happening again. So she calls up the dad and she's like, hey Riley, like, come back. So Riley comes back, but not only does Riley come back, but the two other girls that died that month come back as well. And so all four of them are like trying to figure out like who killed them and like what was the reason. And personally, the plot twist in this book, I guess what the plot twist was, but like I still love this book so much. Like, even though I guess what the plot twist, like the plot twist isn't predictable. Like, this plot twist is not predictable, you guys. I am just crazy. Like, the fact that I was literally like, what if this happened? And then I was like, I read it and I was like it's so, but it's really good. It's a debut novel and I really enjoyed it. The Hate U Give, obviously, like, of course, I really love this book. I really identify with this book. I relate to Star's character. Because I relate to Star's character because I grew up going to an all-black school. Like, everyone in my middle school was like black, and then when I went to high school, I went to two different high schools. My first high school was like primarily black people, but also white people. But then when I switched to my second high school, it was primarily white people and like a little bit of black people. I always had to like change not my personality, but like I would have to like change how I talk and like code switching. Like, that's a thing that all black people have to go through. So I would have to like go through code switching, and I just really identify with Star's character. And I just really liked seeing my culture in a book. Like, I liked hearing about like Cedric the Entertainer and like Tupac in a book. Like, you know, like I love that. Like, I love having a book for me, something that I can identify with the character with, like something that I can relate to. I like the hood trio. I'm about to cry thinking about this book. Oh my gosh, I just love that so much. I didn't grow up watching Harry Potter, but if I did, like, I would have tried to convince my friends to like do this with me. Like, you know, like, I feel like I would have been able to relate to that. I've dated, like, my first boyfriend was a white guy, so like I understand like dating a white guy and not really being embarrassed with dating him, but like your whole family thinking it was weird that you're dating a white guy, and like not wanting to break him around, but like being scared that your family's not gonna like him because he's white and you're black. You know, like I understand that. And also vice versa, like you being scared that his family's not gonna like you because you're black and he's white. Like, you know, I understand that feeling like 100%. And I just relate to this book so much. And like, I don't relate to like Star's personality or anything, but I relate to this book. And my favorite part about this book was the ending, when they list like all the black people that died from police brutality. And I also really love Khalil's character. And like, if Angie Thomas wants to like write a sequel, like a prequel, we all know how it's gonna end. But if she wants to write like a prequel, like a romance novel with Khalil and like me, I would love that. I would love that. I still haven't seen the movie yet. It's so funny because I was in the car with my uncle and he was like, oh, you know, it was a really good movie. And I was like, oh, what? He was like, The Hate U Give. I was like, oh, I read that book. Like, it was one of my favorite books I read 2018. And he was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, I really like the movie. It was just surprising because, not saying like my uncle isn't like into that stuff, but it was just really, it was like not weird. It was just like really funny for me to see that, like, you know, and I liked that. Next book that I loved this year was Simon Versus. I watched the movie before I read the book. I went on a first date. This is like I think I love this book so much because when I went to the movie, like the date that I went on was like one of my favorite first dates ever. Like we went to go see Love, Simon, and then he took me to like this vegan pizza place, and vegan cheese is like the bomb, okay? And then he took me to like this comic book store, and it was like a very, very special first date to me. Like it was one of my favorite first dates. And so when I finally read this book like months after I watched it, and I really, really loved it. It kind of made me angry watching it because I was like I was reading all the things that they took out of the book, and like there's so many differences between the book and the movie, but not really at the same time. Also, I didn't realize that Simon like had blonde hair and like Harry Potter glasses. I thought that was really interesting. But of course I love Nick Robinson as Simon because Nick Robinson is my future husband. Like that's not a joke, like he's my future husband. So I liked him as Simon, and I just love Simon. I love the representation. I loved Blue, like I love the romance. Leah annoyed the crap out of me. The next book I have is a book that I don't really talk about typically on my channel, but it's The Thousandth Floor by Katharine McGee. This book doesn't have a map, which I think it should. And The Thousandth Floor is basically about this, basically New York is one building, and it's like Gossip Girl, but like, it's like Gossip Girl, but futuristic. Like literally this is set in 3018, I believe. No, it's 2100, 21,000. How do you say that? 21,018? Yeah. So it's set in 21,018, and I love this cover. I remember this was like when me and Serenity first became friends. I think this was the first book we ever buddy read together, if I'm correct. This book almost just took me out. Wow, love that. So basically, I remember seeing this book on her Bookstagram, and I was like, this book is so beautiful. So I had to buy it, and I bought this one, and I bought the second one, which I don't like as much as the second one. I haven't read I spoil myself. I love spoilers. Like I don't mind spoilers, so I don't really care. But like I end up spoiling myself for who dies in the book because someone does die. That's not a spoiler. Like someone does die. And so I just really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the futuristic aspect of it. I enjoyed I didn't really care about the characters, but I did at the same time. Like there's not a character who I'm like, oh, this is my favorite character in the world, but there are characters like in the book that I really, really enjoy. I think my favorite thing about it is there are 3 characters who are in one group, like one friend group, and then there are 2 other characters who aren't in the friend group. And then at the end of the second book, they're all like brought together to become friends. And then in the third book, like something happens. Like I don't know what happens in the third book because I haven't read it yet, but like I'm excited to read it. And so I love tight-knit friend groups, and I love when friends who don't seem like they would be friends come together and they become a tight-knit friend group. Like I love that so much. It's probably because I'm lonely. Next book we have on my list, which we are not surprised, Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It's one of my favorite books of 2018. I just did a live show of it last night, Saturday. Holly Black is a genius, okay? Like each character, like there are no characters who are really good and bad. Like for each character you can always explain why they act the way that they do, but they're also still like they're still terrible people, but it's like you get a background story of why they're terrible people. Like, you know, each character is a terrible person, but they're not like 100% terrible, you know? And I love Cardan. And in Jake from Jake Does Books, we were on FaceTime, and he was like, yeah, like technically everyone else, like Cardan is like a cruel prince. He's a bad boy, but in the fairyland, he's a soft boy, like, you know, because fairies are automatically evil. So compared to all the other fairies, he's actually really soft. And I'm like, do I have a thing for soft boys then? But I don't know, everyone's always the thing about this book that irritates me is everyone's always so surprised when Cardan ends up being cruel, and I'm like, can you read? If you don't know what The Cruel Prince is about, it's about this girl named Jude who, when she was younger, her and her 2 sisters, her twin sister and her older sister, were taken by this fairy because her older sister is the daughter of the guy who takes her, and like the mom she had them and then like left fairyland. So the guy who takes them comes and he's like, okay, well, I want my daughter. So he takes her, and then he's like nice enough to take Jude and her twin sister along with them. So they go to Fairyland, and it's basically like Jude living in Fairyland. And yeah, I really love this book. This book isn't as like cute as sweet as I thought it was gonna be. Like, I thought this was gonna be like a sweet little fairy book. Like, no, this book is, first of all, it has so much drama and so much tea in it. Like, I love it. But also like has fighting and like that ending, boy. That ending. I talked about this video. I did a review for it. I did a review. I did a live stream with Jake, like a live show on Katie's channel, which you should go and check out. And by the time this video is uploaded, like this video is uploaded, the Wicked King should be out, which I already read. 5 out of 5 stars. Loved it. Can't wait to see everyone get destroyed. A book that I read in like December. It's a Christmas book. It's The Afterlife of Holly Chase. I picked this book up because I know that Emma Books loves this, but also like I just really wanted a Christmas book to read, because the first Christmas book I read that year in December, the first Christmas book I read in December, I didn't like it, and so I just decided I want to pick up another book, and so I picked up The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Han, which I ended up giving 5 out of 5 stars. I really love this book. I love Holly Chase. I picture Holly Chase with like Emma Roberts, who like I love Emma Roberts. Like, Emma Roberts is one of my favorite characters to play like blonde hair white girls who are like terrible people. Like, her characters always end up being my favorite characters, so I just love Emma Roberts so much. So picturing her as Emma Chase, like, I just, beautiful. I didn't really care about the romance in this book, but that's okay. Like, I really loved the beginning of the book, and then once we get towards the middle, it kind of like was slow, and I was like bored, and I was ready for it to be over. And then I got to the end of this book, and like I just love the plot twist. Like, the plot twist is guessable, but I like how the book ended. And so the last book that we have on my list was The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory. I don't talk about this book on my channel just because it's like a contemporary romance, and like I don't really read contemporary romances that much, but I personally, like, I love this book so much. And this book is about this girl who gets stuck in an elevator with this guy, and like they're like talking or whatever, and he's like, oh yeah, I gotta go to this wedding, and she's like, oh, like, you know, they're talking, and end up like, you know, whatever. So she ends up seeing him again, and he ends up asking her, he's like, oh yeah, I gotta go to this wedding, like it's my ex's wedding, I don't really have a date, like my date canceled or whatever. And so she's like, okay, that's not my problem. But then she goes back to her room, and like she talks over with her sister, and she ends up deciding that she wants to go. So she sees him again, and she's like, okay, like I'll be your date or whatever. And so they end up being each other dates, and like end up really liking each other. So I just really like this book because I really like the fake dating trope. Like, I love it. Like, give me more, please. It's about a white male and a black woman. I believe she is a heavier set black woman, which I really enjoy. Like, I really love this book. I especially enjoyed the smut because it wasn't too much for this book. Like, this book isn't like, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, the book has smut in it, but that's not the main focus. Like, there are romance books who main focuses are like the smut. So of course, like, if it was like it's like, to me it should be heavier, but in this book, like, you know, the main focus wasn't smut. Like, no one I didn't even know it was smut in this book until I read it. I was like, whoa, but it wasn't too much at the same time. So I really enjoyed this story. I like the romance. I do want to read the proposal date that she has with like the male character's best friend, and I want to read that, but I don't really care for it at the same time. I don't know. Hopefully there's not. But yeah, oh, I didn't really want to read that one because it's like they have a friendship, and I don't care. Like, I don't care about friendships. Like, who cares about friends to lovers? I want to hear about hate to lovers, fake dating to lovers. Like, who cares about, you know, who cares about friendship to lovers? Anyways, we're not talking about that book. We're talking about this book. I love this book so much. Like, I recommend this book to everyone, but I love this book so much. So my camera had cut out. Love that for me. So these are all the books that I really liked in 2018, and I hope for 2019 it's an even bigger list because I only read 60 books in 2019. I only read 60 books in 2018, so hopefully for 2019 like it's like an even better list, and like, you know. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace out, Girl Scout.
Baby, this is a microphone checker. What you getting into when you get up? When I wake up early, I'ma text you. Heard you got a man, baby, I could do it better.